Hey guys, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman, and it's time for your dose of some fragrance content. It's also time to get some reviews out of the way, and I'm going to do a review today of this fragrance that comes from the brand of Rasasi, which is somewhat of a new release in the Hawas line that's called Rasasi Hawas Fire. Now, there's a bit of confusion about this fragrance on what exactly this is cloning, if it's a clone at all, what this smells similar to. So in today's video, I'm going to try to give you my answers on what this actually is cloning, if it's a clone at all, or if it's just similar to something famous out there. As usual, I'm going to start by taking a very quick look at the presentation, the packaging, the bottle design and everything else that you will receive if you decide to buy this fragrance. This is the box design of Rasasi Hawas Fire. It's very similar to the other fragrances from this Hawas line. It's a black bottle with some red and silver accents. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the concentration EDP and the bottle size 100 milliliters. If anyone is interested, the production date of my bottle is April of 2025. And then this is how the bottle looks. It has exactly the same bottle design as any other fragrance from the Hawas line. You get a nice sort of a slim bottle that has quite a bit of heft. You get a metallic cap. In this case the cap is completely blacked out, and just as a reference point, this is Rasasi Hawas Black, and as you can see they look pretty much identical bottle design. There's only difference in the color combinations, and in fact Rasasi Hawas Black also has a metal black cap. But enough about packaging and presentation. Let me first quickly show you the sprayer in action, because it's a good sprayer, and although it's not pressurized, the sprayer actually is really nice. In fact, all fragrances from the Hawas line have good sprayers. I'm going to spray it a few times on my hand as well, so I can talk about the opening of this fragrance. And as I said, this fragrance is surrounded by a bit of confusion regarding on how it smells for those people who have not tried it, or people who have tried it but haven't tried anything similar to this one. If you look up this fragrance from Fragrantica, you'll see a pretty strange note breakdown that may lead you to believe that this is a very fresh scent, which is not the case at all. And I think the confusion comes from the fact that Rasasi themselves listed a wrong note breakdown on their website, and database sites like Fragrantica and Perfumo just simply copied that note breakdown and pasted on their sites, and that's, I think, where the confusion comes from. Now, there is a bit of a freshness in this fragrance, but it's definitely not something like very marine, very fresh or very summery. This is more on the warmer side. This is more on the fruity and sweet side. The opening of this fragrance is all about the fruity sweetness. I think there's an apple note with this one. There's quite a bit of ambery sweetness. There's a hint of freshness as well, and there's also a bit of a floral touch, which gives a bit of airness to the scent profile. That floral touch comes from a orange blossom note. But basically this is the opening. It's fruity, it's sweet, it's a hint fresh and a hint floral and slightly light and aromatic in the air. Somewhere in the background in the opening you get just a hint of a leather note, which is a main player on the on the scent profile in the later dry down, but in the opening you just get a hint of that leathery note, and you get some of the ambery sweetness, which on the dry down actually is ramped up. On the dry down this also has a bit of a patchouli, which gives it a slight earthiness, but basically you retain the sweetness of the scent profile on the dry down, but that fruity sweetness is replaced by more of ambery sweetness, which gives a bit of warmth and a bit of an oriental touch to the scent profile. You also get a stronger leather note on the dry down, and as I said, you get a bit of earthiness from a patchouli note. All around this smells slightly fresh. It smells quite fruity in the opening and quite floral and aromatic, and then on the dry down it becomes leathery, it becomes ambery, and it becomes a hint earthy. Now let's move on to the actual answer of probably the main question: what this is cloning, or is this cloning anything at all? Is this feeling similar to something else? Now this fragrance has nothing to do with fragrances like the Acqua di Gio Profumo, Acqua di Gio, whatever fragrance from the Acqua di Gio line. This is not fresh, this is not marine, this is not, maybe there's a hint of sort of an aquatic touch, but it's just a hint. So basically this is not a clone of any fragrance from the Acqua di Gio line. What this feels similar to, but feels more like inspiration rather than trying to clone it, is a fragrance from the brand of Giza, which is called Imperial Valley. But this is more like, again, as I said, an inspiration, because this lacks some of the things that you'll find in Imperial Valley. For example, Imperial Valley has an agar oud note, which you will not find in Rasasi Hawas Fire. Imperial Valley has a way stronger leather note, which you won't find in Fire. Yes, Fire has a bit of a leathery note, but it's nowhere near as strong as the one that you'll find in Imperial Valley. And Imperial Valley feels a little bit more spicy. Just all around, Imperial Valley feels like you know, the Middle Eastern or like the Oriental brother of Rasasi Hawas Fire. Rasasi Hawas Fire is more fruity, it's sweeter, it's less leathery, and has no agar oud in it. But in a way, this smells similar to Imperial Valley, and at least from my personal experience from the fragrances that I've tried, this is the closest thing to Rasasi Hawas Fire that I've personally tried. When it comes to performance, this is a good performing scent without being anything groundbreaking. I've still been easily getting around about 8 hours of performance, maybe slightly over 8 hours on my skin, with the initial projection being quite good, but unfortunately that initial pretty strong projection is not sustained for a very long time. I would say in the first about 1 hour this projects pushes quite strong, but then it starts to sit closer and closer to the skin. But overall I would say that the projection is above average for about 2 hours, and total longevity I've been getting around about the 8-hour mark, so it's a good performing scent without being anything super special. Price wise, I personally paid around about 40 euros, so it's around about $45. At that price point it's pretty similar to other fragrances from the Hawas line. They seem to be, all of them seem to be relatively priced close to each other. At that price point I would say it's a decent deal if you like fragrances like Imperial Valley from Giza, which is quite a bit more expensive than Fire. And versatility wise, I would say this is a pretty versatile fragrance because it can be worn pretty much throughout the year. Probably the only sort of days in the year that I won't be using this one will be in the most hottest days of the summer, because this is quite sweet and probably can be a bit cloying, but other than that this is quite versatile, I would say. And at the end, a few final words about Rasasi Hawas Fire. Now initially when this Hawas line was started, the first member of the OG Hawas was a clone of Paco Rabanne's Invictus Aqua. Then we saw Rasasi Hawas Ice, which is also a pretty fresh and sweet fragrance. But then with the newer releases in this line, things have changed a little bit. Then we saw Rasasi Hawas Black, which is a clone of Hashivat, a beastly performing clone of Hashivat. Then we saw Rasasi Hawas Fire. There's also Rasasi Hawas Elixir. So now the whole line has become quite interesting and quite versatile, because there are fresh fragrances, there are sweet fragrances, you know, there's some of more of those cold weather fragrances. Rasasi Hawas Fire overall is an interesting fragrance that smells pretty similar to Imperial Valley from Giza without being a straight up clone. Keep that in mind. It has nice quality, it has I would say pretty good performance. It's a likable scent profile, has enough sweetness, has a bit of a leather touch, has some florals in it, has quite a bit of ambery sweetness and warmth. And all around this is a nice fragrance with good quality and good performance. And so guys, in today's video I reviewed one of the relatively new releases from Rasasi and the Hawas line, which is called Rasasi Hawas Fire. I hope that you found today's video interesting or helpful. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video for your dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.